Cook County Jail, one of America's largest jails and one of its most feared. Hidden inside these walls isn't just violence. It's an underground society ruled by gangs. From the Gangster Disciples to the Vice Lords, every hallway, meal and phone call is controlled by invisible codes of power. This story reveals the secret network that runs the jail from the inside, and how even the guards struggle to stop it. If you're ready to see the real Chicago underworld that never made the news, stay till the end, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Cook County Jail sits on 96 acres of land on Chicago's southwest side, a fortress of concrete and razor wire that holds, on average, more than 5,000 inmates at any given time. For decades, it has been described as a city within a city. Inside, time slows down. Rules bend. And every tier tells a different story. What most people don't realize is that this jail, not a prison but a pretrial detention center, holds some of the most dangerous gang members in America. Many are awaiting trial for murder, racketeering, or drug trafficking. Others are locked up for smaller offenses but find themselves trapped in a system ruled by gang hierarchy. Survival doesn't depend on your sentence, it depends on who you're affiliated with. Investigations over the years, from the Chicago Tribune to federal court filings, have exposed a grim reality. At Cook County Jail, gang politics dictate nearly everything. A simple wrong move, sitting at the wrong table, walking down the wrong tier, or wearing the wrong color, can turn deadly. The most dominant groups inside mirror the city streets: the Gangster Disciples, the Vice Lords, and the Latin Kings. Each has its own division, leaders, and internal justice system. These organizations don't just control protection, they control commerce. Cigarettes, food, drugs, and even phone access are traded like currency, and the economy flows through them. Former inmates describe a system where guards sometimes rely on gang leaders to maintain peace, an unspoken deal that blurs the line between control and cooperation. One ex-inmate told reporters, "The officers knew who ran what. They just made sure it didn't spill into the hallway." Another recalled that when tensions rose, certain lieutenants could calm things down faster than any correctional officer. Over time, this power structure became self-sustaining. Gang members learned to communicate even under heavy surveillance. They developed coded languages, used folded paper messages called kites, and manipulated visitation systems to send orders to the outside world. Even cell phones, smuggled in through laundry, food deliveries, or corrupt staff, became their command centers. Court documents from a 2017 federal probe revealed that several inmates were caught orchestrating drug sales and robberies on Chicago streets, all while confined inside the jail. One of them was allegedly a minister in the Gangster Disciples chain of command, giving out orders from a contraband phone hidden in a ceiling vent. The Chicago Sun-Times once described Cook County Jail as a pressure cooker, part courthouse waiting room, part battlefield. The constant movement of inmates in and out means loyalties shift daily. Yet the core remains the same: power belongs to those who can control fear. To the outside world, Cook County Jail is about punishment and justice. Inside, it's about survival, allegiance, and respect, currencies far more valuable than money. Inside Cook County Jail, violence isn't random, it's regulated. Every fight, every truce, every punishment follows a set of invisible rules known only to those who live by them. These are not written in any handbook or whispered to new arrivals by staff. They're passed down through generations of inmates, lessons carved into the walls of survival. The first rule is identity. You must know who you are, and who you stand with, the moment you enter a tier. Gang affiliation determines where you sleep, who protects you, and even whether you eat in peace. If you're a Gangster Disciple, you don't cross into a Vice Lord's tier. If you're a Latin King, you don't sit at a Folks Nation table. One wrong step can be a death sentence. New inmates quickly learn to check in, not with the jail staff, but with the ranking gang members who control their division. These leaders, often referred to as generals, decide whether a newcomer can stay or must be transferred to another deck. Some of these clearances are approved by word of mouth, others by hand signs flashed through cell windows, silent conversations that stretch across rows of steel doors. Former detainees describe how communication becomes an art form. A hand placed on the left side of the chest might mean loyalty to the Vice Lords. A tilt of the head and two fingers raised might identify a disciple. Even the way a letter is folded can carry coded meaning, a hidden map of alliances and warnings. Guards often underestimate the sophistication of these systems. According to investigative reports, certain inmates have used fish lines, makeshift ropes made from torn sheets, to send messages and small items through air vents or under doors. A bar of soap tied to the end serves as the weight, sliding silently from one cell to another. Through these exchanges, notes, called kites, move information faster than official communication channels ever could. But codes go beyond signs and letters. The gangs have a hierarchy that mirrors military order. At the top are the lords and ministers, followed by chiefs, enforcers, and soldiers. Each role comes with strict duties, some to maintain peace, others to enforce discipline. In certain units, a designated inmate handles disputes, preventing chaos that could draw the attention of staff. One former inmate explained, "If two dudes got beef, it don't go straight to fighting. It goes to the chair, the man in charge. He decides if it's handled with words or fists." The chair, as he called it, acts as judge and jury. Sometimes punishments are simple, losing commissary privileges or being put on restriction. Other times justice turns physical, a quick beating in a blind spot unseen by cameras. The worst offenders, those who snitch, steal, or disrespect the hierarchy, might be targeted for transfer requests or worse. Yet beneath this brutal order lies a strange kind of stability. Even correctional officers admit that these internal structures often reduce open conflict. In a facility this large, chaos is inevitable, but organization, even criminal organization, keeps the lid from blowing off. A 2019 Cook County Sheriff's Office report quietly acknowledged that informal inmate leadership sometimes aids in maintaining tier stability. Still, the jail administration walks a fine line. They cannot publicly admit that gang systems help maintain control. Doing so would expose a hidden dependency. Instead, they rotate inmates frequently, move known leaders into isolation, and intercept mail. But each time they cut one link, two more appear. Communication evolves. Power shifts hands. The shadow system rebuilds itself overnight. Because inside Cook County Jail, power doesn't need permission. It just needs silence and time. In Cook County Jail, money doesn't flow through cash or credit cards. It moves through favors, fear, and forbidden trades. Every cigarette, every cell phone, every packet of drugs carries a price, and the invisible economy that runs through these walls rivals the streets outside. The longer you stay inside, the more you understand. Survival here is business, and business is power. The first rule of the jail economy is simple. Nothing moves without someone getting paid. From the commissary shelves to the laundry carts, everything is part of a network. Inmates with kitchen jobs smuggle extra food in their sleeves. Cleaning crews hide cell phones under mop buckets. Trustees in laundry units pass coded notes between divisions. Every role in the jail has value, not because of the pay but because of the access. Contraband usually enters through three main channels: visitors, deliveries, and staff. Visitors are searched, but smuggling is an art perfected over decades. Packages wrapped in plastic are hidden in shoes, braids, even baby diapers. Some inmates convince girlfriends or relatives to drop items in trash bins near work details, a method the FBI later called perimeter drops. But the real pipeline, according to multiple investigations and indictments, runs through corrupt staff. In 2016, 2 correctional officers were arrested for smuggling phones and synthetic marijuana into the facility. They were caught after a sting operation revealed that they'd been paid in cash and favors from outside associates of the Gangster Disciples. In one case, a phone seized from a high-ranking inmate contained messages arranging drug deliveries across the South Side, all while he was locked up in Division 9, one of the jail's most secure units. Phones are the most valuable contraband inside. They're not just communication tools, they're weapons of influence. With a phone, a gang leader can run operations, manage drug sales, or threaten witnesses from hundreds of miles away. The Chicago Crime Commission once reported that several shootings in the city were ordered directly from inside Cook County Jail using contraband phones. Drugs, too, follow the same invisible routes. Synthetic cannabinoids, known as K2, have become the new currency. Inmates soak paper in liquid K2, dry it, and then sell each page for hundreds of dollars. A single letter from the outside can contain multiple doses. Because it looks like ordinary mail, it slips through inspections unnoticed. Once inside, it's traded like gold, used to pay debts, silence enemies, or reward loyalty. But the economy doesn't stop at drugs or phones. There's a black market for everything: shoes, batteries, food, even extra toilet paper. Inmates trade honey buns for favors, ramen noodles for phone calls, and cigarettes for protection. Every item has a set value, and those values shift daily depending on supply and demand. When the commissary shuts down or units go on lockdown, prices skyrocket. A $1 ramen pack can suddenly be worth 3 times that, especially if you're desperate or in debt. At the top of this economy are the gangs. They tax trades, approve who can sell, and punish anyone who violates business law. For example, if an independent inmate starts selling K2 without permission, he might get a warning first, a reminder to pay the count. If he ignores it, he risks a beating or worse. It's an economy built on control, one that turns the jail into a miniature version of the outside world streets. For guards, this creates a dilemma. Many officers are honest and underpaid, working 12-hour shifts for modest wages. But the temptation is constant. Inmates offer thousands for one simple favor: a phone hidden in a lunch tray, a SIM card slipped into mail, a package passed during laundry rotation. Those who give in find themselves trapped. One favor leads to another, until the line between law and loyalty disappears completely. A former Cook County officer, interviewed anonymously by the Chicago Sun-Times, admitted, "They offer you $1,500 for something that'll take you 10 seconds. Then you're in. Once you start, you can't stop. They own you after that." The corruption is not always about greed, sometimes it's fear. Inmates learn officers' routines, memorize their family names from casual conversations, and use that information to apply pressure. A subtle threat, a warning about a relative's school, is often enough to bend the rules. Behind every locked door, another deal is made. Behind every routine search, another risk is taken. The contraband economy is the jail's bloodstream, flowing unseen, unstoppable, and essential. Even the administration knows that eradicating it completely is impossible. The goal isn't to stop it, it's to control it. Because as one retired warden once said, "If you shut down the underground market, you shut down the peace. And when that happens, the walls start to shake." Cook County Jail isn't just a detention center. It's a battlefield divided by loyalty, color, and rank. Every block, every tier, every shower line represents a territory under someone's control. To survive here, you don't just need muscle. You need a name, a reputation, and the right people standing behind you. At the top of the food chain are the shot callers. These are the men who've earned power through years of violence, loyalty, and connections, both inside and outside the walls. They don't shout orders. They whisper them. A single nod from a cell window can set off a chain of events that ripples through the entire jail. Guards might think they run the building, but the inmates know, the real authority wears no badge. Each major gang has its own internal hierarchy. The Gangster Disciples, GD, operate with a structured, almost corporate system. They have a chairman, regional governors, and ministers responsible for communication and finance. Inside the jail, these titles are mirrored by ranking inmates who oversee their divisions. They hold councils where disputes are resolved, debts are collected, and punishment is approved. One wrong move without the chairman's blessing, and you're done. The vice lords, meanwhile, rely on what they call chiefs of security. Their chain of command is less formal but deeply rooted in respect and fear. A vice lord leader doesn't need to raise his voice. The younger members, called shorties, watch his every move, waiting for silent instructions. If a conflict arises between gangs, the chief decides whether to squash it or escalate it, not through words but through action. Then there are the Latin Kings, whose internal discipline is almost military. Their members refer to each other as brothers in the crown, united under strict codes of conduct known as the Manifesto of the Almighty Latin King Nation. In Cook County Jail, their meetings are called universals. Attendance is mandatory, and any violation, disobedience, disrespect, or failure to contribute, is met with what they call correction. That correction often means pain. But even with these systems in place, power in Cook County Jail is never stable. It's constantly tested. Rival gangs are separated by walls, but influence travels through notes, shouts, and signals. Every time an inmate is transferred, the balance shifts slightly. New blood means new ambitions, and in a place like this, ambition can be deadly. Former inmates describe an atmosphere where politics and paranoia intertwine. A single rumor can spark chaos, a supposed betrayal, a missing commissary package, an insult taken the wrong way. Fights break out, not always for control, but to prove dominance. These acts of violence serve as reminders of who's in charge. One ex-inmate recalled, "You could tell who ran the deck by who got to eat first. Nobody said it out loud, but everyone knew. If you crossed that line, it didn't matter how big you were, you'd be dealt with by morning." The wars don't always involve knives or fists. Sometimes, it's psychological. Who can manipulate the guards, who can control the flow of information. A gang that dominates a particular division can decide who gets commissary, who gets protection, and who gets targeted. Even the most minor privilege, an extra phone call or longer shower, can be weaponized as leverage. Gang leaders also use outside connections to strengthen their position. Street members on the outside send money through family or friends to maintain loyalty. In exchange, inside members send instructions, sometimes through contraband phones, sometimes through coded letters. These operations blur the line between jail and street. Cook County becomes a remote command post for entire criminal enterprises. The administration's efforts to break these networks have had mixed results. Transferring leaders to solitary confinement or different divisions only delays the inevitable. New lieutenants rise to fill the gap, often more ruthless than their predecessors. As one investigator once put it, you can't cut off the head of a hydra if it grows two more overnight. And yet, within this chaos there's a strange form of order. Violence here has rules. Gang leaders often avoid unnecessary bloodshed because too much noise brings lockdowns, and lockdowns cut off communication and trade. So when disputes happen, they're usually calculated, planned, swift, and contained. A beating in a shower stall. A fight timed perfectly when cameras rotate. A message sent without words. Every inch of control is earned in blood or loyalty. Every leader knows he's only one wrong move away from being replaced. Cook County Jail isn't just overcrowded, it's overpowered. And in this war for dominance, the line between inmate and general blurs into one thing: whoever can command obedience without speaking a word. In the official story, the guards are the enforcers, the line between chaos and control. But inside Cook County Jail, that line fades faster than most people realize. Behind those heavy steel doors, correctional officers are not just guards. They're players in a larger, more dangerous game, one where neutrality is impossible and everyone has a side even if they pretend not to. To understand how deep it runs, you have to start with the environment itself. Cook County Jail is massive, over 90 acres, dozens of buildings, and thousands of inmates. Officers work 12-hour shifts, often exhausted and underpaid, surrounded by men who study every word they say and every move they make. Power in here is fragile. It doesn't belong to whoever wears the badge, it belongs to whoever understands fear. Many officers come in thinking they'll keep order. But the longer they stay, the more they realize that order already exists. It just doesn't belong to them. The gangs maintain a quiet structure that keeps violence predictable. The guards know it. The inmates know it. Everyone plays along. One former sergeant, interviewed in a 2018 investigative report, said, "You don't survive 20 years in that place by fighting the gangs. You survive by learning their rhythm. You learn who to listen to and who to ignore." This unspoken relationship turns into a shadow partnership. When things get tense, certain officers go straight to inmate leaders for help, not backup. They'll quietly say, "Keep your guys calm," before a cell search, or "Don't let it blow up tonight." It's not weakness, it's survival. Because everyone knows what happens when the balance breaks. Chaos, riots, blood on the floor. But that fragile balance comes with a price. Over time, some guards cross the line, not out of greed at first but convenience. They let small things slide, an inmate talking after lockdown, a contraband snack smuggled through. Then come bigger favors, an extra phone call, a small package delivered. Before long, the system owns them. A guard who looks away once is watched forever. The gangs remember who's flexible, and they never forget a favor. Investigations have repeatedly uncovered cases of correctional officers being bribed, threatened, or seduced into cooperation. In 2019, a Cook County correctional officer was fired after being caught on surveillance passing a small package to an inmate, later found to contain a cell phone wrapped in masking tape. Another was disciplined for exchanging personal messages with an inmate's girlfriend, who acted as a go-between for contraband deals. In one particularly chilling case, an officer admitted to smuggling in drugs after gang members learned his daughter's school location and used it as leverage. The gangs understand psychology as well as power. They study guards the same way predators study prey, noticing who's tired, who's struggling financially, who's desperate for respect. A friendly conversation here, a thank you, there, it's manipulation wrapped in gratitude. And once you accept it, you're marked. Some officers, though, use that same knowledge to manipulate back. They play inmates against each other, leaking selective information to keep one faction calm while another is punished. It's a dangerous dance, but sometimes, it's the only way to keep the peace without violence. As one longtime lieutenant told reporters, "You can't outmuscle 5,000 men with 200 officers. You gotta make them police themselves." Still, this arrangement often turns into a silent war of influence. The administration tries to stamp out corruption, running surprise inspections, random cell searches, and background checks. But every crackdown creates more tension, and tension inside Cook County is like gasoline. When trust between guards and inmates breaks, the results can explode overnight. In 2014, after a large contraband sweep in Division 9, multiple assaults on officers were reported in less than a week. Whisper networks spread fast. The inmates believed the guards had violated a deal, an unspoken truce that allowed limited trade in exchange for quiet. Once it was broken, control vanished. It took a month before the violence died down, not through force but through negotiation. In the end, the gangs restored order, not the sheriff's office. And that's the real paradox of Cook County Jail. The people meant to control it depend on the very forces they're supposed to destroy. Corruption doesn't always look like envelopes of cash. Sometimes it's just silence, avoidance, or cooperation disguised as duty. Inside these walls, survival isn't about who's right or wrong. It's about who understands the game best. For both inmates and guards, the unwritten rule remains the same. Power doesn't belong to whoever holds the keys. It belongs to whoever knows how to use them. Division 9, officially known as the Maximum Security Division, is Cook County Jail's beating heart of control and chaos. It's where the most dangerous, high-profile, and volatile inmates are sent. Here, steel doors are thicker, the windows smaller, and the silence heavier. Every step echoes through corridors lined with cameras and reinforced gates. If the rest of Cook County is a city, Division 9 is the fortress that guards it. Inside, inmates call it the house. Others call it hell on 26th Street. The air smells of disinfectant and metal. Lights never fully dim. The noise, when it comes, is sharp and sudden. The clank of cuffs, a door slamming, a distant shout. This is where the jail isolates its gang leaders, enforcers, and anyone considered too dangerous to mix with the general population. But ironically, Division 9 has also become a command center, where the gang's most powerful figures continue to run operations from solitary cells. Each inmate is locked in for up to 23 hours a day. Yet, through coded letters, lawyers, and contraband phones, their influence seeps into every other division. The walls are thick, but the power inside them is even thicker. In the early 2010s, investigators discovered that several high-ranking members of the Gangster Disciples and Black Disciples were using smuggled phones in Division 9 to coordinate robberies, send drug orders, and discipline members outside the jail. Calls were traced to Southside neighborhoods, where street crews followed instructions from men who hadn't touched freedom in years. One recorded message, entered into evidence, captured an inmate saying, "Tell him to move on that corner. Don't wait for word. The jail ain't stopping nothing." To outsiders it sounds impossible. But Division 9's inmates have time, and time breeds control. They study guard rotations, memorize meal schedules, and exploit weaknesses in the system. Each detail becomes a tool. Even something as small as a laundry cart, a food tray, or a misplaced key can shift the power balance. The Latin Kings have their own stronghold within Division 9, tiers where loyalty is absolute and betrayal unthinkable. Inmates maintain their hierarchy through universal meetings, held quietly through vents or short notes passed in books. Each brother is responsible for the man next to him. One inmate described it as a military unit behind bars. He said, "They don't need a gun. They've got order. And in here, order is everything." But for every gang that thrives on discipline, there are moments when order collapses. Division 9 has seen some of the worst violence in Cook County history, from coordinated assaults to spontaneous riots. One such event in 2009 left multiple inmates and officers hospitalized after a security breach led rival factions into the same recreation yard. The incident was quickly buried in reports, but witnesses later said it started over a single rumor, a whispered insult that turned into a full-scale war within minutes. The sheriff's office responded with lockdowns, more cameras, and stricter searches. But the truth remained, Division 9 doesn't just contain danger, it breeds it. Every man inside is trapped between survival and insanity. Inmates talk through vents, tapping codes for comfort. Guards walk in pairs, never alone. Every sound could be a warning, every silence could be a setup. Yet through all this there's a grim understanding shared by both sides. Division 9 isn't just a punishment unit, it's a pressure valve for the entire jail. By isolating the most influential leaders, the administration prevents their control from spreading unchecked. But at the same time, it concentrates their power in one place. As one retired warden put it, "You put all the generals in one room, don't be surprised if they start running the army." For many who've passed through its gates, Division 9 is unforgettable. Some call it a tomb, others a kingdom. But all agree on one truth: once you've been there, you never leave it behind. The sound of those steel doors closing becomes a memory that follows you for life. Because in Division 9 the jail doesn't just hold men, it holds ghosts. Cook County Jail isn't just a detention facility. It's a mirror of Chicago itself, a place where loyalty, money, and fear rewrite the meaning of law and order. The gangs, the guards, the smuggling networks, they're all part of a larger system that thrives in silence. For every official rule, there's an unwritten one. For every act of control, there's a hidden compromise. For decades, politicians have promised reform. Cameras have been installed, units reorganized, staff replaced. Yet, the same power structures survive generation after generation. Because the truth is, what happens inside Cook County Jail isn't just about crime, it's about human nature. Where there's confinement, there will be control. Where there's desperation, there will be deals. And where there's silence, there will always be power waiting to speak. As the sun sets behind the razor wire on 26th Street, the lights of Division 9 flicker on once again. Inside those walls, men prepare for another night, some plotting, some praying, all surviving. To outsiders it's chaos. To those who live it, it's order, their kind of order. This is Cook County Jail, where the law ends, and the system within the system begins.